Our second Canadian. This is the Outside Gate with Steve Hall on the L4 Media Network, where we talk US Moto and anywhere the conversation goes. Today we might talk a bit of Canadian Moto though, and we've got from GDR Honda. See if I get all this right. GDR Honda, Atlas Brace, and from the Team Canada VMX DN team also. Ryan Lockhart, how are you?
Yeah, good, Steve. Yeah, finally able to connect. We've only been trying to do this since probably June or July, but Thursdays are a busy day for me. So I'm glad. Even when I said, "Yeah, I'm good this Thursday," oh crap, I dropped my phone. Even when I said this Thursday, it's Halloween here, so the time change.
Yeah, that's right.
The time change hasn't made it easy for us to connect, but here we are.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I'm used to that. Yeah, man. Like it's honestly, man. Some of the best guests are the ones that I'll wait the longest to get on. Because you're always busy, man. You're doing lots of cool stuff, so that's why you'd be good to talk to. So
Yeah, for sure.
that's it, man. Yeah, and you have been busy, man. Like I wrote down my little intro for you when we were first going to get you on, and you had done that the VMX DN on the KX 500 and all that sort of thing. But since then, you've also been over at Manly Basin with the young version of your glorious VMX DN team, the actual Team Canada, and you've also had Vancouver WSX and lots of stuff for Canadian series, man.
Yeah, and I was supposed to be at World Vet this weekend at Glen Helen, but I ended up backing out last minute. But yeah, it's a busy year. All the years, every year, like kind of when January comes around, I always say I'm gonna slow it down a little bit, but things add up, and obviously, it was these little opportunities like going to Vet Motocross the Nations. I mean, that wasn't planned; it was pretty last minute. But how do you pass up these opportunities, right?
Yeah, man, that's like super bucket list sort of a thing for me, man. I love vintage stuff. Can't get enough of that sort of stuff, man. And I actually I watched it. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I got onto a stream somehow and
right
and watch it and that sort of thing. So I did see you out there getting punished by that big 5 honey. So that was.
Yeah, it was a crazy trip, man. Like so cool. I mean, obviously I've heard about the race lots, and then obviously when the opportunity came, kind of looked into it a little bit more. And what you see on streams or TV or photos does that track no justice with how steep those hills are. And I had never. I mean, I've ridden motocross all my life around the world, but that track was like something different than I've ever seen or ever ridden with how steep the hills were. And then put yourself on a 500 that I had never raced before, and it had rained the day before. So I was terrified, so to say, but it was a really cool experience. Obviously I would have liked to rode a little bit better, but man, it was treacherous out there, and with literally no time on the bike, because we were supposed to ride Saturday, but then it got canceled because of the rain. So we got 4 laps of practice on Sunday, which was also time qualifying for gate pick. So needless to say, it was pretty uncomfortable. It's still a really cool experience. So
yeah, man. Yeah, like it was, you could see for the most part, most of the riders there, for 80% of the riders there were just, out there having an experience, having a fun experience. But damn, there's a couple of guys up the front like Tommy should be banned for now. I think Tommy needs to be benched for like 5 years. He's still way too quick. That is just crazy. He's
his bike was so good too. I mean, he had 2 literally factory Kawasaki 252 strokes, and he was training leading up to it. And I mean, the pressure was on. There was literally like not even half, like a quarter of the field, like with Brownie and those guys were very serious. Yeah. And then there was kind of like the middle guys that were like myself that were obviously wanted to do well, but wanted to be able to go home safe at night too. And then there was some that's what was nuts about it is like, I mean, I never got lapped in the moto, but I was lapping people. Sorry, my phone dropped again. I was lapping people in the moto. So it was like, from extreme fast to like super super slow, which obviously made it difficult too. And there was 2 rows of guys too, so there was more than just 40 riders on the track at once. And it was, like I said, it had rained, so it was like one line and slippery, and it was an experience for sure. But the whole socializing and having beers in the beer tent and just like the bench racing was the best part of it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, that would be the best part of it. Like, I'd like to go to it one year, but there's no chance. No chance I'd be riding it.
Yeah.
I'd be one of those guys that I would be one of those guys that everyone was lapping. So, but to go and experience it, see the bikes, and just bench race and hit up the beer tent and all that sort of thing. That's just my scene, man. So yeah.
Exactly. No, it was crazy how many people were there. Like it was nuts for a vintage race or vet MXD, however they want to call it. Like it was packed, like with how many people were there, and the weather was really shitty, so that obviously hurt too. But there had to be like 25,000 people there, like just camping and partying, and it was wild. It was like typical European motocross of nations, just with like old school bikes and not near as fast riders, right? So
yeah,
really cool.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. Yeah. It's super cool, man. Yeah. And then you were back over to England for helping out Team Canada for the Motocross of Nations.
So I actually didn't go. I was supposed to go. Yeah. No, I was supposed to go, but man, with having the opportunity to go into Vet Motocross the Nations, and then I also run all of our local races here in British Columbia. And we were still doing that, and I had been gone all summer, and I was supposed to go, but at the last minute I'm like, man, they'll be on my team side of things with Dylan. Like we sent a really good mechanic with him, and so I backed out, which trust me, I had FOMO. I wanted to be there really bad, but I was like, man, I got to slow it down here a bit. So
yeah, you can't do everything, man.
No, exactly.
You got little kids too, don't you?
I do, yeah. I got 2 boys. Literally just had birthdays last week. My youngest is 4, and my oldest is 9, and they both race as well. So that keeps me busy. Like a typical weekend for me here locally at the races. So I'm running the races, plus I'm racing 2 classes myself, and my oldest boy raced 2 classes, and then my youngest just races 1. So my weekends, even at local stuff, are wide open. So it makes it hard. It makes it hard, but it's all worth it in the end. That's for sure.
Full on, man. Vet life and Moto Dad life all at once.
I know the full experience.
Is the scene pretty strong in British Columbia?
It is over the last probably 5 years. It's really grown, and like anything, and I'm sure you've heard it lots. Like COVID obviously gave the dirt bike industry a huge boost here in Canada as well. So our numbers are big. They're bigger than ever. Where people are finding the money, I have no idea, because things are more expensive than ever, and it seems like people are struggling more than ever. But people are still riding dirt bikes. So here locally, like in BC, we run 8 rounds of outdoors starting in May, finishing up in October. So it's quite spread out, because we don't race in the summertime here, which sounds crazy, but it gets pretty hot and dry, and there's a lot of other things to do. People are out on the lake and boating and lots of different summer activities. So we actually don't race all of July and all of August. We take off because we get a lot of forest fires around here too. So the series is pretty spread out, but there's always lots of other stuff to do. You know, obviously for myself, it works out good because I'm usually back east doing the national stuff with GDR Honda. So we're still racing back there, but out here, that's why we end so late. Like right now is like the perfect time of year for riding. It's, you know, the dirt is good. The weather is, you know, it's a lot cooler, but this is the best time of riding here in BC.
Yeah, we have the same thing here in, you know, or most of Australia, but definitely in Victoria,
right?
Where in summer, like basically in summer, tracks run out of water. So you know, that's basically it. It's pretty much, you know, there's probably a couple of tracks that have an extremely good supply somehow, but you know, they're lucky to have huge dams or something. But for the most part, most tracks like we'll run until we run out of water to water
Right.
tracks. So
Yeah. Oh, totally.
So, but racing seasons, moto generally runs through winter here. So because
exactly.
it's
So
never.
do you go to all the? Did you go to the Australian Supercross there a couple weeks ago?
I didn't, man. I didn't, but
No.
I'm going to Melbourne. So yeah, so
Okay.
Melbourne's my so I live in Victoria and going to Melbourne, man. And honestly,
cool.
I got FOMO, but it's the old the cost of traveling within Australia is just insane at the moment.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to another Aussie media guy just the other day, and he was like, man, like like it's almost cheaper to go overseas than travel around Australia. It's just insane that
it's the same. It's the same shit here too, right? Like I can fly to England for the same price as I can fly to the east coast of Nova Scotia or east coast of Canada, which would be Nova Scotia. It's stupid how that works, but anyways, it is. I guess that's not our problem to figure out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a whole cost of living and politics and all. That's a whole nother thing, man. Yeah. Hey, quick shout out to my guy Jeff Klassen from GP Moto who hooked up me and Newf to have this discussion. And what reminded me of him, and this will give him a laugh. It's a bit of an inside joke, but when you mentioned that guys go fishing in the summer, I know Jeff loves to get out there and catch some salmon. So shout out to shout out to Jeff. That's totally. He'll know what I'm getting at there. Yeah, man. Awesome. And then were you at Vancouver Supercross?
I was. So obviously Vancouver from where I'm located is only about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was there. I was excited for it. I mean, I raced. So when they had the WSXs here back in like 04, 05, 06, which was part of the US series at the time. So I raced all those. I raced the 3 years of them, I believe. And they were cool. But Vancouver's a fucking weird city, man. It's very, it's not motorsports driven. It's very green, trees, electric stuff, bicycles everywhere. It's very similar like San Francisco or one of those types of cities. But dude, honestly, the race was pretty well. Like my expectations weren't super high coming in, but it exceeded it, man. The World Supercross thing was really cool. It was my first one that I had gone to, with obviously the new owners, which is all brand new this year. But cool format. The racing was obviously with having Tomac and Roczen there. That sure helped. Because without those two guys, then it probably, it still would have been good. I mean, as a diehard fan like me or you, we still find it cool. But the Tomac Roczen thing was what really helped it. And crowd was, for us, I think there was just shy of 20,000 people there, which is pretty good considering, just like I said, Vancouver. The problem is that stadium holds almost 70,000 people. It's massive. Like it's it's the biggest one in Canada for sure. So it did look pretty empty, but the lower bowl and stuff like that was really good. And it was a lot of fun. It was good. I was down there like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I ended up delivering a lot of the fuel for the teams. Like that's like logistically, it's hard for them because they're shipping all their bikes and stuff. Yeah. So it was like this whole fuel debacle. Some people's fuel didn't show up, so I was crossing back and forth at the U.S. border, picking up fuel because we're basically right on the Washington border here in British Columbia. So I was fucking smuggling in this fuel for the teams, and it was the whole thing. But yeah, it was super cool actually. The whole thing worked out better than I expected. All the people I talked to were happy with it, so hopefully it comes back.
Reminds me of a couple of years ago, round one of the Aussie Nationals. The guy. So obviously we're talking much smaller scale, but still big for us. The guy who was bringing all the race fuel that half the teams use, and some of the top teams rely on. He was bringing it in just in a like a sprinter van, and he took a wrong turn, hit a ditch, blew his radiator up and blew his van up. Yeah. So I went and rescued with my ute, my truck. I went and rescued the race team fuel for that day. So that was it was funny.
It was kind of, the whole thing was wild because you got to run FIM regulated fuel, which there's not a whole, it's like a homologation thing. And to me, it's kind of bullshit. I don't know the reason why they do it, whether it's a money grab that you have to, like, certain fuel or certain companies pay the homologation for the fuel. But anyways, long story short, all the fuel was being shipped from ETS, which is located in Michigan, which is quite a ways away. Well, delays and weather, and literally the stuff didn't show up. So, and they needed it by 1 o'clock on Friday before tech inspection ended, because you have to list what fuel you're using and stuff like that. So I had on Thursday night, because there was no fuel for any of the teams. So on Thursday night at 8 o'clock, I had Larry Brooks. So Larry Brooks is Ken Roxon's team manager. Yeah. He's at my house pouring fuel in my garage, because I run Renegade in my own bikes, but it's not FIM regulated. But he wanted to have some sort of backup plan of some sort of fuel. So yeah, he's at my house. I don't know Larry Brooks. I just met him literally through text. Somebody connected me, heard that I might have fuel, and then so he came, got the fuel. And then I ended up driving across the border the next morning. I picked up the fuel. I met some guy on the side of I-5, which is the major artery that runs from California to basically Vancouver. Yeah. Met some guy on the side of the road, picked up 3 drums of ETS fuel, and then drove it straight to the stadium and got there at like 12. And then tech was over at 1, and then they were on the track. So yeah, it was a whole thing of this fuel debacle that I got roped into, but it was actually quite entertaining at the end. It made for some good stories after some beers on Saturday watching the race, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's crazy. The logistics, man. You know, that's something that most people wouldn't even think of when they're watching on the TV. Was, you know, the logistics and these crates that they got they're going around the world and all that sort of thing. It's got to be one of the hardest things for them, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, I think it works out good for them on the shipping side, but you can't ship any fuel, you can't ship any oil. So every place that they go to, you know, like when they come to Australia here in a couple of weeks, like somebody will be supplying them with fuel and oils. It's not, they can't ship their own stuff. So I know lots of the teams just went to local bike shops and bought chain lube and bought contact cleaner and engine oil and stuff like that. So a lot of things that people don't, I mean, those crates are awesome, but like I said, you can't ship ship fluids in it. So when they go to these, I mean, not that Canada or Australia is a strange country, because it's pretty Americanized for the most part, but when if this series does expand into, you know, India's and all these other places, it could get pretty tough logistically for those types of things.
Yeah, they go to Indonesia or somewhere, man. I don't know where they're getting race fuel there. You know, a lot of places they'll get race fuel here. How close our race fuel is to for FIM and all that, I don't know, but I'm sure that's all been figured out though. It would.
You'd like to think. You'd like to think, but it didn't seem that way in Vancouver, because people were scrambling at the last minute, right? So.
Yeah.
I had a suggestion. I said World Supercross should be just organizing the fuel for the teams in each country, and that gets delivered. But every team is kind of on their own, which I see both. I see both sides of it. So.
Yeah. Because they've probably all, you know, every team wants the exact thing that they've been already testing for World Supercross, and
but the problem is though, is that you need to run this like what the guys are running, like for the US team. So like MCR and HEP Suzuki. Yeah. Like the fuel that they run in AMA Supercross is not the same fuel that they ran up here, because it's not FIM legal.
So it's quite different. Is it like the octane? The octane's different.
I'm not a fuel master, but there is something that is different about it. Like I know even when we go to, like, I went to France last year with Team Canada, we had to run different fuel as well. We had to run this ETS 1955 is what they call it, which is FIM approved or FIM legal. So it does, whatever the guys are running in US or even the Canadian teams is not the same stuff you're allowed to use at these FIM events. So it's kind of stressful for the teams. They have to go out and buy this other fuel, probably test it with their ECUs and whatnot to make sure it works. But I guess my argument was, it's crazy to me that the winner or the loser isn't determined by the fuel. Like if Roxon had a ran different fuel than Tomac, it doesn't mean that he was going to beat him. Like it's so minor, like these little things, they just overcomplicate it, in my opinion. When to me, World Supercross, for example, it's racing, but it is also almost exhibition, right? Because these guys are getting paid pretty good money. Roxon and Tomac are getting paid really good money, so it's not. It's very exhibition-y type feel to it. And I'm just like, God, you guys are, making them stress out over fuel and having the right fuel, because the winner is the winner at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool, man. Cool. Yeah. Very interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff. Righto. It's time for an ad read. Guts Racing, Greg's Ultra Trick Seats. Gutsracing.com. That's a really easy website to remember. Gutsracing.com. The world's greatest seats. Winning world championships with Kai de Wolf. Winning Supercross championships with RJ Hampshire. Down here, almost winning. You're so close, as close as it gets to winning a championship with Jed Beaton. Anything pretty much that has knobby tires, you can get a Guts seat for it. ATV seats, seats for the little e-bikes like the Surons and that sort of thing, and obviously for your dirt bike. You can get complete seats. You can get seat foams. You can get the ultra light seat foam. You can get custom seats with a bump, with wide wings, with ballistic material down the sides. If you are a knee brace guy that's really tearing up the side of your seat, a huge range of colors. If you can imagine it, they will have it. The website's amazing. You go on there, you pick the color for the side, for the top, and for the ribs. If you can imagine a color, they will have it. You can also get a Velcro fitment seat if you don't want to tackle the job with a staple gun. If you do tackle the job with a staple gun, you'll get your seat cover with a QR code, and you scan that. It'll take you to a video where the man Andy Gregg himself will be there showing you how to best install that seat cover. That's some pretty amazing service, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. As used by Club MX, Twisted T Suzuki, AEO KTM, Next Level KTM, Moto Concepts Honda, Phoenix Honda, and countless privateers. Rockstar Husqvarna. There you go. The biggest one I nearly forgot. Countless privateers like my man Scott Meshy. And Scott Meshy, as he says, they are a butt gripper and they will make you a ripper. So get around that, gutsracing.com. That's a really easy website to remember. Gutsracing.com. Okay, thanks for listening to that ad read. And let's get back to see what else the Newf has got to tell us about Canadian motocross. Let's get into it. Cheers, dude. We might get into I've listened to you when you've been on Pulp, and I've heard about you for years and that, man, and but I don't actually. So I sort of know you. I know you more as the Atlas guy. Steve Mathis's funny mate, and all this sort of stuff. But I'm not right across your and I think there'd be a few people in the same boat from other countries. I'm not right across your own racing and your own motorcycling life, man. So I'd like to just hear a little bit about that. So, man, just like my favorite question of the show that I ask everyone, man, is when did the motorcycling bug bite you? So that first moment.
Yeah, for sure. So very similar to lots of others. My dad was a racer back in the day, like late 70s, early 80s. He was actually a pro here in Canada and raced for teams and whatnot. But I mean, I was just born and bred into it at the track, right? I have photos of myself sitting on my dad's bike when I was, a year and a half, 2 years old, and just kind of rolled right into it from there. Started racing when I was 6 or 7. Which is crazy because now my kids, like, they started when they were 3 and 4, but bikes have evolved and there's more options out there in classes and stuff. But I basically rode lots and then started racing. And then once I started racing, I never really stopped. So not much of a stellar amateur career. I mean, the scene back in the 90s. So now I'm talking like early 90s.
Yeah.
I was born in 84. So early 90s when I started racing, it was small. I mean, it was very small. And I lived on the east part of Canada, which is even a smaller percentage of the population. So, but kind of went through the ranks, did a few big amateur races. And then, I turned pro when I was 14, which is pretty standard for Canada because, like I said, we didn't have a lot of competition, and the competition was like literally you got to get pro as soon as you can to race against the fast guys. So turned pro when I was 14 and kind of had a little bit of success the first couple of years, got myself on some teams and had a decent career. I mean, I've won motos. I've never won a championship. I've come close on the outdoor side of things. Rode for some good teams, pretty much every team that was in Canada. I've been there, done that. KTM, Suzuki, never rode for the Blackfoot Honda team, which was the premier team, but had a decent career. Like I said, lots of podiums, whole shots, moto win, but could never win that championship because I never really worked that hard. I hated training. I was never in good enough shape to be that guy week in and week out. When the stars aligned, I was there. Talent wise, I was there, but I always thought I was working hard, but not near as hard as the guys around me, let's say. So really where my bread and butter was indoors. So arena cross was my thing because they were short races. So I won an arena cross championship up here in Canada, tons of success there. I went and raced German Supercross for a year for a team over there. 2004, I got on the podium at World Supercross in Toronto. So that was really, really cool because I didn't have a whole lot of Supercross experience at that point. And I had opportunity. I've raced in Finland, England, Germany, Czech Republic, Bermuda. I did the full Supercross series in 2006 on a 450 as a privateer, which was an awesome experience. I never made any mains in the 450 class, but really helped me as a rider because I came back and had my best season ever outdoors in Canada. I finished national number 6 in our outdoor series. And then in 2008, when I was life was catching up, right? I was 24, 25. I got hurt really bad in California training in the off season. I shattered my kneecap at Glen Helen, and that was pretty much the end of my riding for teams and stuff like that. I took about a year and a half off the bike because I got a bunch of infections and shit like that in it. And then, but came back after that and I did the odd national here and there. I filled in one time for a guy and did some nationals here and there, but just more turned into, local vet rider. But still did some pro stuff when I felt up to it.
Nice. And you're still enjoying riding now, man, which is great. Like you're still racing now.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so crazy, and I'm sure you've heard this before. And I tell people I sound like a lot of, but once like it was done where I was getting paid money, I was like, I found the fun in riding again, and I actually was fucking better. Like I would go out and ride better, and I was like, oh, if I put a little bit of training in, I'm like, oh, look how much easier this is, I remember in 2012, I hadn't raced a national since 2008. I came back in 2012, and I'm like, you know what, just for fun, I'm gonna put 4 months into this and just see what happens. And I literally trained for 4 months, like religiously, and did quality bike riding and quality training off the bike. And I was a top 10 guy again in the 450 class after taking 2 years completely off, right? And I was 2 years older. So, it's the same old story, do as I say, not what I did back in the day, because I was fucking partying and hanging out with chicks and stuff like that, being a typical teenager, and didn't realize that the talent that I had could have, if I had just buckled down for 5 or 6 years, I could have really made a go at it. Now in Canada, you're not going to get rich and retire off it from motocross, but I could have had a lot more success, so to say, because a lot of my successes came after the fact that I was done riding, professionally, for quote unquote a living. I was doing well in arena crosses when I was still working a full-time job, right? I started working here at Matrix and Atlas in 2012, and I was still racing lots. And I think I just realized how to manage my time better. And obviously I grew up too, but it's just funny how that works. You hear other stories of people saying the same thing, and when you're living in the moment, you don't fucking think about that. Like you're a teenager. Nobody can tell you anything. You could have fucking Jeremy McGrath come up and tell you, man, if you just worked a little bit harder, you're going to do better. Yeah, sure. No problem. I'll do that. But you still, until you're ready to decide to do it. It's like a drug addict. If you want to get off drugs, until you tell yourself that you're going to do it and you want to do it, that's when you're going to do it. A million people could tell you, or a million people could train you, but until you're ready to do it, that's just the fucking way that life goes, right?
It is, man. Or in all aspects of life, man, not just moto. Like, you
Exactly.
can't. I got teenage kids now, man. So or a young adult and a teenager. So I know.
Right.
You can't tell them anything, man. You can, every now and again they'll take some advice, and you'll be like, fucking wow, and it makes you feel good. Like I've done a good job. They actually, they will actually listen. They listen to me on a few things, not everything, because I know I didn't listen to anything my old man said. Like I listened to nothing. Like I'd almost do the opposite, like.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like I always laugh because I teach a lot of motocross schools here in BC in my spare time, and my kid, my oldest kid, he's on a 65 right now, and he won't listen to a freaking thing that I say. And I'm like, dude, all your buddies' parents are paying me to teach their kids, and I'm willing to share my wisdom for free, but you would rather me pay somebody else to teach you. Like that's literally how it is, because your kid doesn't want to listen to you, right? It's like that little bit of rebellions, right?
It's funny. That reminds me of a pod I did probably 6 months ago, but I was actually just going through and getting some clips out of it, and this exact one, this was from, I had Donnie Hansen on,
right?
And he was talking about we talked about Josh's career for a little while, and I said, what was, because then Donnie's done a huge amount. He's been training for 30, 40 years. And I said, what was Josh like as a student? And he said, he was just a pain in the ass. He wouldn't listen to anything. And so that's that same thing. But what he said, though, is he says nowadays he'll hear Josh giving kids advice. It's the exact same thing that he used to say to Josh. So he knows he did listen. He just wouldn't act on it. So funny.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny how it works.
It is absolutely. Dad's a Supercross champion, motocross champion. Totally. It's like, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's a funny thing, man. Absolutely. Dude, so this year, it was the first time I watched a little bit of the Canadian Nationals, man, of the Triple Crown, and I think probably what I had a couple of guests on. So I had Mitchell Harrison and I had Tiger Wood on, and
cool, yeah.
And Tiger's a good kid. Obviously, he was riding for you, and I thought, I've got to watch some of this. I want to see, especially how those guys went, and especially Tiger being an Aussie and that sort of thing, and also Aaron Tanti was up there and all that sort of thing. So I watched a little bit of it, man, and I was glad I did, man. It was pretty cool. I guess sort of the vibe of it, I guess. Just it really reminded me a lot of Aussie Nationals. Just probably the skill level and the vibe, and I think maybe you got some pretty good, maybe got better selection of tracks there than we do. We've got a couple of good ones, and then a heap of ones that they're not bad, but they're not. Your tracks look pretty close to US tracks from what I can see. They're not US tracks, but they look pretty good. Obviously, I'm watching the just certain camera angles, but the track selection looked pretty good, man. I don't know whether that's accurate through the TV, but I thought it was pretty cool, man. And you're the team manager for Go for Dunes Honda, yeah? Is that your role there? Yeah, man. Correct, yeah, so you're very involved, yeah.
Yeah. So to touch on the track thing a little bit, we have a good variety. Basically, we have anywhere from hard packed to deep, crazy sand, which is Gopher Dunes. Yeah. Which is Gopher Dunes is world famous. Anybody that's come to race Gopher Dunes will always remember it, because it is, we laugh because everyone's Southwick is so sand and deep. This is this blows Southwick away. It's on the, not even close. So we do have good variety, right? We got some loamy ones, and that is the one nice thing about our series. But I would agree with you. I watch some of the Aussie stuff. I watch lots of vlogs. I'm a big vlog guy these days. I like watching Joel Evans, which is an Aussie guy. He does a good vlog. So I kind of watch most of it through there, but you're right. It's very similar to Aussie as far as like the depth of the competition probably goes. Like, you get a few standouts in each class, and then you kind of got your middle guys and then some slower guys at the back, but very similar probably on the crowd turnouts and stuff like that. So a good way to compare it, but yeah, it's good, and it's getting healthier, and this year was a big step for us. Obviously, having Tiger up, we haven't had as much international attendance in since COVID wrecked everything for everybody. But this year we had Drew Adams come up, which was awesome for the series. Tiger Wood, awesome for the series. Aaron Tanti, awesome for the series. So guys like that really, like if Tiger Wood or Aaron Tanti, you might not have watched the race this year, right? So you might even
that probably,
so
I probably wouldn't have paid for that. Whatever, so many streaming services now. I can't remember which one it is, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's cool about these guys coming up, and sometimes our Canadian riders, and I don't know if this happens in Australia as much, but sometimes our Canadian riders get all pissy when these foreigners or international riders come, because they are taking a ride away from a Canadian guy. But we got to look outside the box. We want to fucking grow this sport here in Canada. Like I just said, there's you're one guy, but there's probably lots of people that were tuned in to watch Drew Adams, and tons of others Aussie guys that turned in to watch Tanti and Wood. So that's what we need. So this year was a good step up for us on that side of things. So yeah, it's pretty healthy. It's not as good as it was probably 10 years ago, man. We had a lot of good riders up here. We had Christophe Pourcel doing the series. We had Millsaps at one point, Matt Gerke, Brett Metcalf did the series. Medi was awesome up here. I mean, he loved it. He came back, right? So when he still had opportunity to do stuff in the U.S., but I mean, it was a good place for him to come up here and win championships, right? He wasn't going to win. He wasn't going to win in the U.S., right? And I mean, he'd be the first to admit that. And he came up here, and he was making good money, and so the series is good for that. Will it ever be, AMA US Nationals? No, not even close. It's not. We don't have the money. We don't have the population, and whatnot. But it is a good stepping stone for these kids or guys that are later on in their careers to come up here and ride it out.
Yeah, you do get that mixture of very young and at the end of their career, which we get a bit of that too.
Right.
Yeah. Cool, man. And then that crazy finish with the most memorable thing, and probably for the wrong reasons, was the crazy finish to the MX2 championship with Drew's antics and all that sort of thing. That was that was a perfect example of what I am talking about with you get the super young kids up there, because that was just he admitted he'd done the wrong thing, and I'd say mum and dad kicked his ass, and he was remorseful with it. But hey, he's a racer. He's a young racer, and I always say when kids make mistakes and do some silly stuff on or off the track, like I was a fucking idiot when I was 17. These kids are way smarter than me. So I ain't judging them. So
it was, but that was awesome for the series, though, man. How many people,
the views,
it was like for our series, which is called Triple Crown. I mean, the Triple Crown guys should have been sending Drew a check for the amount of people that tuned in to watch that afterwards, because it really put a lot of eyes on it. And honestly, being there on site, I mean, and I'll dive into the GDR thing here in a second. We didn't have a great year at all, which it was bound to happen because we've had so much success over the last how many years. It was like, when is the voodoo doll going to come out and bite us here? Because we've had such a good time. But being at that last race, man, like I had Tiger on the track and Tyler Medaglia. I wasn't even watching that. I was watching the freaking battle with Benoit and Adams, because it was awesome. And KTM was really pissed about it. And there was a lot of bullshit stuff going on once the checkered flag fell, and Benoit ended up winning. But I was just kind of standing there, and like, obviously I didn't have a horse in the race, so my feelings of it were just as a fan's perspective. But I'm like, what did you think the kid was going to do? Like, it was do or die. And that's what he was doing. So, and I mean, we can rewind back to Vegas in 2017.
Yeah, Eli did the same thing.
Eli did the exact same thing, but they, so it was funny because the KTM team, in which I'm friends with all those guys, like there's no hard feelings, but they were just like, oh my God, I can't believe he would do something. The fuck did you think he was going to do? He's 17 years old, and he legitimately had a chance to win the championship. So it was the emotion was crazy. And like I said, I was a bit jealous because I didn't have a horse in the fight. Would have loved to get wrapped in there in the emotion of that all, but it was crazy. But Drew lost that championship at the second round because he crashed in the second moto, and kind of, it was a medium-sized crash, but originally the plan was he was never supposed to do the whole series. So he crashed while he was doing good and kind of hit his head a little bit, but he was fine, and he just pulled off the track, so he DNF'd the moto. I guarantee you he's kicking himself in the ass for not riding around at 10% of his level and scoring like an 11th or a 12th, because he would have won the championship. So it's funny how it kind of all played out in the end, and Benoit was just super solid. I mean, Benoit's freaking 37 years old. So it was like a 37-year-old going against a 17-year-old. It was pretty wild. So, but then, on the GDR side of things, we've had crazy success with Dylan Wright over the last however many years. Colton Fasciotti, Ryder McNabb won championship for us, and then this year, anything that could have gone bad went bad. Dylan had a bike failure at the first round, which we haven't had a bike failure for years. And then had that massive crash. I don't know if you ever saw it on Instagram, but like a big one.
Yeah, he's lucky, man.
He's not normal. He's not like you've never met him before, but that guy is built differently than me and you. Like he hit the ground freaking hard, and for him to get up and be able to, I mean, he was in the hospital for however long, but then to come back the next weekend and try, and still get fourth overall. But the damage was done. He needed to take some time off. We thought he might be able to power through it. And then Tyler Medaglia, who was our 250 championship contender, he goes down first lap of first moto while running second, and Adams runs his head over and knocks him out. So we basically, after the first two rounds, all our eggs were in one basket with Tiger, and it was just a learning year for Tiger, right? Where our expectations were super, we didn't have any expectations, and I kept telling him that. I said, just learn and get better. And he had some moments that were great. He was leading a moto at the third round and ended up crashing, tweaked his wrist a little bit, and ever since then, because he was on the upward swing, things were getting better every moto. And then once he crashed when he was leading there, we went to Gopher Dunes, which is, like I said, a man's track. And that was the biggest learning curve for him. I mean, his, 17-year-old eating habits and not hydrating properly and everything like that really caught up to him.
Because he's pretty skinny, still.
He's skinny and
he hasn't got his man muscles yet. Yeah.
He doesn't. He talking to the kid, he's as mature as you or I, but he's still a kid at heart. But that one really smoked him. Like, he was fucked up after Gopher Dunes, even though he finished both motos, but he emptied the tank, and it never really got back. The train never got back on the track after he emptied the tank there. But man, what a good kid. I couldn't believe how good of just soaking it in. And that's what he was here for. He was just here to learn. Andrew, his dad, same thing. Like, he was this mechanic all year, and he's not like a mechanic by any means, but he got thrown in the deep end with Tiger. That's how we had to make it work so last minute with budgets and stuff. But he's got a bright future, man. The kid's got talent on a dirt bike, that's for sure.
I got a lot of time for him. A lot of time for him out. Already did, of course, but then after I had him on the show, had him on my amateur show, it was like that. What a good kid, man. He's just a gem, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, and he was so good with, because I spent the whole summer on the road and spent a lot of time with Tiger, and dude, he was so good with my kids, and my kids liked him, my wife liked him. Like, he's not your typical he's not a punk by any means, right?
Yeah,
At
he's the
17
opposite
years
of a
old,
punk. Yeah,
he is the complete opposite. And, we would, he doesn't, he's very polite and
very
everything like that.
humble.
Very humble. So his parents
Yeah,
did a freaking good job. But talking to his dad, he's the exact same way, like literally the exact same. So it's not hard to tell where he learned that from.
yeah, absolutely, man. Hey, what you touched on about how what Drew did brought a huge amount of viewers
Mm-hmm.
to the Canadian series. Your guy Cole Thompson did that for our Supercross series. That's for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
That went viral, man. That was
Yeah.
unbelievable. Like, yeah, that blew up. Everyone in the world was talking about how the
Yeah, and
Canadian
that's
took out the
yeah.
American and the Kiwi in the Aussie
And
Supercross. So, and
that
then the
were
funny
all teammates.
the
Yeah,
funny thing is that was missed in that is their young Australian teammate had won the night after all that happened. So it was like this,
yeah,
it was this
yeah, no.
crazy thing. And the
Yeah.
photo that got the one of the Moto Online guys got the absolutely most perfect photo of it too. They're pretty much all in mid crash, like like stacked like cards. Like there's a great photo out there. So yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
that was certainly certainly a funny thing. I couldn't believe that. That's one. So a teammate taking out two of his teammates in the same
Hmm.
corner, like
Yeah.
that's certainly something that doesn't happen too often, man. Absolutely.
No,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to be Yariv in that situation of being the
Oh,
team owner. Like that would be
yeah.
tough. But what's crazy is like Cole. I don't know if you know much history of Cole, but he's not. What he didn't necessarily surprise a lot of us Canadians. We were
Yeah,
laughing
yeah.
about it because
I've heard this.
he's
Yeah,
he's he's not a bad person, and when you talk to him, he's a gentle soul, but he does some weird shit on the track, right? Like you got to
yeah.
respect him for his talent and his riding, but he does some weird shit every once in a while. We were just laughing, like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this just happened," because it seems to follow him around. There's always something anywhere he goes with some sort of drama. So good for the series, like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure, good for the series, but not good for his teammates. That's for sure.
No,
No.
but yeah, good for the excitement, man. Yeah, absolutely. That was super cool, man. Super
Yeah.
cool. And just one more thing on that your mate Goldie,
Mm-hmm.
he did a great job of diffusing on the podium after that Drew Adams Benoit thing.
Yeah.
Like his work on the podium there was really
Yeah.
good, man. Like he handled that a treat. Like if they'd have had like a just a pretty girl up there with a microphone, that would have been that could have got real awkward. But he was
Yeah.
like, I was real impressed, man. Like I don't know him at all, but yeah, I was real impressed the way he just sort of handled that and diffused what could have
Yeah.
things could have got pretty sideways
Yeah,
there.
well,
So
he sort of diffused it after, like when it was off air, when it wasn't
yeah,
showing the
okay,
podium,
yeah,
like in behind. He might not have diffused it as professionally as he did it on the podium, because it was like basically shut the fuck up here and same on this side, and hey, we got to go to air, be professionals, and let's go, right? So I think he kind of put them in their spot a little bit, leading in, but he's been doing it for years. He's a professional at this game, so I'm sure if he listens to this, he likes anytime somebody gives him kind words, so he's very
well, there
into
you
that.
go, there you
Yeah.
go. Tell us a bit about so you're the Atlas Brace guy. I don't know exactly what your role is with Atlas Brace and
Yep.
that sort of thing. Tell us a bit about that stuff.
Yeah, so I've been with Atlas since 2012. I am the brand manager slash sales manager for Canada, and whatnot. But we're a small company, so there is no real roles in the company. I deal anywhere from dealer sales to warranty issues to rider support to dealing with our pro guys and stuff like that. And then the two owners of the company are ex-racers as well that I race with. So obviously it kind of made sense for me to roll right into this. And both still really good friends to this day. So been here since 2012, been through the ups and the downs. Right now on the neck brace side of things, it's pretty down. Not a lot of guys wearing them anymore.
Mm.
So we have a whole bunch of new products in the pipeline coming out. So we're still selling neck braces, but more so on the weekend warrior side of things. You're not seeing them on TV on Saturday night for
Yeah.
whatever reasons. But we still got good guys. Dylan Wright still wears a brace. Kyle Chisholm, Logan Carnow. We got a bunch of European guys that are still wearing them, but so yeah, that's kind of the role. But yeah, my day to day is anywhere from everything, right? So sales to warranty to rider support to giving out free product to talking, doing articles for magazines or anything. We're small, so we just kind of all chip in and make sure that the lights come on every day.
Is there any other brands? Do you have any other brands with Atlas, or is
So,
there?
so it's funny, yeah. So Atlas is a standalone company itself, and then when I keep saying Matrix, so Matrix Concepts Canada, I work for them as well, which we run out of the same building. They're basically sister companies, but the Matrix brand itself, we run it as a distribution company. So
Okay.
along with Matrix, we do 100% goggles, Mobius knee braces, Renthal, Works Connection, 6D, and Strider balance bikes for Canada. So
Okay. Yeah.
we're a distributor on that side of things. But the two companies, even though we run it out of the same place, they work as separate identities because Atlas is our brand and we do worldwide.
Yeah.
Matrix is just us in Canada here. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
yeah,
you're sort of like a WPS type
exactly.
setup. Yeah, is what
Yeah,
Matrix
yeah,
is. Yeah. Yeah. So we've got
exactly.
several of those in Australia as
Yep,
well. Yeah.
yep,
That
yep, for sure.
that do that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting, man. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, man.
Yep.
What's on the bucket list, man? What's on the moto bucket list?
Uh, it's hard to say. I mean, obviously, doing that Vet Motocross Nations was really cool, as far as racing goes. But bucket list stuff, man. Just I've been to Motocross Nations. I've been to lots of U.S. Nationals. I really want to win a World Vet Championship in the plus 40 class, which this year would have been my year to go. And for the last 3 years, I've been toying with Loretta's to go do 40 there. And I did do the qualifiers this year, but I backed out last minute because I got so damn busy in the summertime with the team stuff.
Yep.
Because I have to take care of my family too, right? Loretta's isn't putting money in my pocket and putting food on the table, but working my job and working for GDR is. So I'd really like to go to Loretta's to say that I did it, but I also won't go if I can't be competitive. And if you got to put in time and training, and it's literally like training for a national season if you want to go there and do well against those guys. And I mean, it's not that it's not possible, but it takes a lot of fucking dedication to do it, right? Like a lot of dedication, and I'll be motivated for a while, and then the wheels will fall off the bus, and then I'm just being team manager guy or Matrix Atlas guy or family guy, right? So, but Loretta's would probably be the one that I really, really want to do, and I've been saying it forever, but I just can't seem to pull the pin on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you got plenty of time, man. You know you got plenty of time.
I do, yeah, I do.
There's
but
plenty of guys with 10, 15 years on you that are out there hitting up Loretta's regularly still. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean it's one of those things that you got to play it smart. Like if you want to go there and be really good in plus 40, you got to go kind of in your early years of 40, right? And you got to be like 40, 41 because man, shit changes a lot when you get into 45, 46. And then it's the same when you turn 50. You got to go there when you're, pretty much 50. I noticed it even, racing. I did World Vet Cup 2 years ago and I did 30 pro, but I was 38 years old, but I'm racing against 30-year-olds. That makes a big difference, right? So you kind of got to be a little bit smart on that side of things, unless you're an animal like Mike Brown or, Jeff Emick and these guys, they can, I mean, that's a different, I was never those guys. So, yeah, oh, well, we'll see what happens, but yeah, pretty content with how things are right now.
Cool, man. Do Honda hook you up with bikes?
Funny story. So I actually ride a KTM.
Okay,
yeah, it's weird. My role with GDR, I've been with them since 2018, and it's evolved every year. Literally, the first year that I had Derek, who's the owner, I've always been friends with. He's literally the same age as me, and I've been friends with him. But my first interaction within the team was in 2018. I'm good friends with Jake Nichols from England, and Jake Nichols wanted to come over here and do a Canadian National, and it had to be on a Honda. And so I called Derek, who's the owner, up, and I said, hey, I get this guy from England. He wants to come over. He'll pay all his own expenses. Can I just get him a bike? He goes, well, the only way you can do that is if you're his mechanic. I said, yeah, sure, no problem. I wasn't racing nationals at the time. So came over, did a race with Jake Nichols, and then it went really well. And then Derek ended up bringing me to a couple of the East Coast races just to help out. So I just kind of fly in, help out, hang out, whatever. Helped with setup and tear down. For me, it was just fun. I was like, I'm back in the race on the national side of things. And then each year it kind of developed into more and more and more, to where at one point, I was kind of working with Dylan Wright on the 250 side, just kind of on the riding side of things. I wasn't mechanic stuff. And then I ended up being Ryder McNabb's mechanic for 2 years, which I'm not a mechanic, but they wanted somebody with them that had experience and skill on the race side. And then the last, not last year, but the year before, so I guess COVID, or the end of COVID, 2022, Derek didn't go to a lot of races. So he kept saying, hey, can you go? Can you go? Can you go? So I kind of rolled right into that team manager role. And then last year was full-time team manager for the team. So for me, it doesn't seem like a big step up because I've been around it for so long, and it kind of just rolled all into one. But like last year in the evenings, I'm working with him with sponsors, and I'm, calling sponsors and emailing sponsors and doing parts orders and lots of stuff like that. So it definitely has evolved. But what's funny is that I've always ridden a KTM, and because my boy rode a KTM, and I get a good deal from KTM, and they don't care that I work for the Honda team because it's two completely separate, different things of my racing here locally. But then literally just as a couple of days ago, I was ordered to ride a Honda for 2025. So I will be riding a Honda moving forward, because the questions started to get a little bit weird from the Honda guys. Hey, how can you get this guy here? He's riding a KTM, but you're listing as your team manager, whatever. So it's just kind of how it worked out. And it was nothing to do with the brand or anything like that. It was just me with my deal that I had going on out here and whatnot. But I will be moving to a Honda for 25. So
cool.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite track? Something I was going to ask before. Did you have a favorite track in Canada from your heyday? What was your go-to?
Yeah, and it still is, because we still race there. So Deschambault, which is in Quebec, so the French-speaking part of Canada. I won my first ever pro moto there. And we still go there every year to race. They have an amateur national there. They call it the ECAN, so Eastern Canadian Amateur Championship. And I still fucking love that place. I don't know if it's just because I had success there, but sandy base track, like really my style, fast, high speed, big jumps. Always love that place. But lots of people, it's one of the best tracks in Canada. So it's not surprising when you hear other people say it.
That's one that a lot of people like.
They do. Yeah, it's just natural hills and it's one of our best for sure.
Yeah, but it doesn't get a national now. Is that what you?
It is a national. Yeah, no.
It still has a national.
Yeah, it still is. Okay. Yeah, it still is national. But we also have an amateur national.
Oh, but you also have the
Yes. Yeah, we have the amateur national during the week, and then it's pro national on the weekend. So.
Yeah. Our best track in Australia, man, like or East Coast anyway, because like West Coast is like so far away.
Right.
East Coast is a place called Conondale. It's just magic, man. But it's sort of in the middle of nowhere, and there's like a little goat track to get in there by a creek and all that sort of thing. Like I think logistically, you couldn't even get. You might be able to get semis in there if the drivers were good, but like. There's but this track, man, it's fucking epic.
I've seen some of the Australian national tracks look okay. I don't know. I don't remember the names of them, but like I said, I watched Joel Evans' vlogs and stuff, and some of them look pretty good. They look like they get beat up and rough and rutted and a couple sandier ones, right?
Yeah. We've got some good ones. Just enough, I suppose. We've got just enough of the good ones. We've lost a couple here and there. We lost Barrabool here in Victoria, which was really good. It was like, maybe the best track when it was still going. Right. We've got some good ones, but just they're sort of, I guess, few and far between. And then, like I said, like with Conondale, the logistics of parking of the parking semis in there, man. Like you just,
Yeah.
the car park's like a little section of woods, and you park under the trees, man. So it's sort of like,
Yeah, and it's the same here in Canada. We have better track, not well, I shouldn't say better, but we have other tracks that are probably better than some of our national tracks, but the facilities can't facilitate it. They're either in the middle of nowhere, or the pits are shitty. You can't get semis in there. There's no airports close around, because when you're doing a national series, it has to be it has to make sense somewhat logistically. Hotels, rental cars, airports, people, right? Populations. So it's the same. It's the same everywhere.
Yeah, that's it, man. Cool. Towards the end, man, I'd like to just ask a few fun questions,
For sure.
Some unmoto related stuff. Dude, one I've been liking to ask lately. I'm not sure what sort of music you're into, but man, if you could time travel to a concert in any time in the past, could be 5 years ago, could be 50. Time travel back to a concert that you wish you'd have seen. Where are you going?
Well, I'm a big 80s rock guy, like classic rock. That's what I listen to.
Yeah.
So anything like Journey related in the 80s. I really like Journey.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Journey, Night Ranger, anything like that. I'm like into those, into that type of thing. So
where would you want to see him, man? Where would you want to go to see him?
I'm not
any classic venue or anything.
No, not really. I'm not like that big of a music guy, but I don't know, anywhere. To be honest with you, probably anywhere in Europe, because anytime I've gone to any event in Europe, it's much bigger than North America, right? Like just the way the vibe is and stuff like that.
They go crazy. Yeah.
They are. Yeah, it's much different. Like Motocross the Nations in USA is not the same as Motocross the Nations in Europe. I don't care what anybody. I know Steve got a bunch of shit on that on Vital with Pulp Steve, saying that Motocross Nations in Europe is better. Well, until you've gone to one over there, you don't really like. Red Bud's not comparable. Red Bud is pretty good, but not the same. Not the same.
Yeah. Like it's funny. It's a real funny thing how Aussie crowds. I don't know what it is, but Aussie crowds are very tame, man. Like Aussie crowds are not crazy, man. Like Aussie crowds are very, very pretty quiet and pretty tame, and then you look at the US fans, they're pretty crazy, especially Red Bud and all that. But yeah, man, Europe is next level. Like when I get to go to a Motocross at Nations one day, I want to go to Italy or France because that's the craziest stuff. Like that's the full on. I want the full experience, man.
Oh yeah.
And I want to go to Red. I actually want to go to Red Bud next year. Hoping for that, but and that's awesome. But for me for a Motocross of Nations in America, I'd probably actually just rather go to Red Bud and experience the 4th of July weekend and the whole Red Bud thing than go to Ironman Motocross of Nations, because
exactly.
Yeah.
So, no, I agree. I mean, Red Bud was good. I went 2 years ago and it was awesome, but it's not the same as like being in Erne last year. Like that was next level
insane.
For me. Yeah, it was just next level. Like people sleeping on the hill to get a good, viewing spot, all night. Like we left the track at 7:00 at night. You come back at 6:00 in the morning, and those same fucking people are there with the cooler, drinking beers, set up, ready to go. And I mean, I went to Matterley in 2018. I think Matterley was the last time, and it wasn't even the same. The English fans aren't the same as like the hardcore European people, right? So, anyways, kind of different.
It even the I was laughing about this year the leprechauns on the track and all that sort of thing, and the smoke bombs and the leprechauns in the track. Like you did either of those things at an Aussie national, they're probably calling the cops. You're probably going to jail, man. Like
you're going to jail.
You're definitely getting kicked out of the event for sure. You're not. They're not cheering and letting you walk the track. Like security guard's going to tackle your ass straight away, and you're getting the fucking hell out of there. So it's a funny thing, man. Yeah,
it's crazy.
And dude, what about a dream road trip, man? So you're putting 2 or 3 of your mates in the car and or the truck or on bikes and you're going somewhere, man. What's the dream road trip?
Yeah, not too not just because I'm talking to you, but I'd love to come to Australia. That would be cool. Like, I've been to lots of places in Europe, been everywhere in the US, been to, lots of different places, but Australia seems to be really, really neat and completely different than what's over here, right? So always wanted to go there, but fuck, man, you guys are so far away. Like, I can't believe how far you guys are away. It's ridiculous.
Man, yeah. It is crazy. What's the main thing you want to see in Australia then?
Just the land, like just everything. Like, not like the city so much, but like the countryside and everything like that looks very cool. And I'm sure it's similar to other places, but I don't know. It just seems the weather, like, when I don't know what your guys' like best time of year is, but whatever you see online and whatnot, it's like, fuck, it looks beautiful. So
it depends on the part of the country as to what time of year you want to you want to go. Like, in the southern states, you want to be in summer. As long as you don't mind the heat, you want to be here in summer, because southern states do get cold. Not Canada cold. Actually, not even close, man. That's ridiculous. Like,
where we're at here in BC, like where I'm at, like near Vancouver, it doesn't get super cold. Like, we don't.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll get snow, but not very, very much. Right. It's usually a lot of rain this time of year, or a lot of rain in the wintertime, but it doesn't get cold like the prairies, like central Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario. Like, it's like -40, -50, right? So
I can't even begin to imagine that.
No, it's not insane. It's not normal. It's not normal.
So. Like, I mean, I'm not sure what that is in our Celsius and that, but man, but like, the coldest we get here, like anywhere in Australia, like minus probably 8 Celsius is like the coldest it would get anywhere, like ever, which is like,
we're Celsius here. We're Celsius.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's the coldest you get anywhere ever, and we only get snow on the mountains where we have some ski resorts and some snow mountains and some of the towns that are sort of halfway up the range and all that sort of thing will get, but there's no cities that get snow or anything like that. But and if you were to visit the northern states, you probably want to go in the winter, because that's basically, because once you get up, if you wanted to go to like Darwin or somewhere like that, where we're getting an MXGP next year, you got to go in winter, because they don't really have winter. That's just dry season. It's a dry season and wet season. That's basically so you don't want to be there in wet season. It's because it just a lot of rain. So but the middle of the country, basically where the real tourists area is, which is sort of southeast Queensland and like north coast of New South Wales, the weather's just pretty much fucking beautiful all the time.
So exactly.
You can do what you like there, like Brisbane, like where the Supercross was the other day, and that's
it's like the southern California of Australia, right? It's always nice down there.
Weather wise, and also as far as the moto scene goes, it's kind of like the SoCal as well. That's sort of the hub of it. That's where a lot of it, that's where it's where Chad Reed comes from, Craig Anderson, Matt Moss, totally. That's sort of where the northern New South Wales there, and southeast Queensland. There's a huge scene. So man, that is it, man. Cool, man.
Cool.
Hey, there's a couple of things I do to close out the show, man. The first one, man, is I always ask in this stage Canadian guests to give me your best Aussie accent.
What is it? G'day, mate. Right? Like, that's what you guys say? Or is it,
you weren't too bad. You weren't. It's not terrible, man.
It was always easier when having Tiger around, because you could kind of follow his mannerisms of how he was saying things. But but I was never much of an accent guy.
No, I'm not either. I just it's a funny thing I've been doing, and sometimes people surprise me. They're really fucking good at it, and then sometimes it's just terrible. But
exactly.
But it's an interesting thing, man. Yeah, dude. Thank you very much for your time. And there's one last thing I do on the show, man. It's weird, and there's a backstory to it that I won't bore you with. But man, my outro music is a little bit of Kenny Rogers, and I sing it myself, man. So
okay.
I always say if you across the words to Kenny Rogers the Gambler, man, then you're more than welcome to join in. So it's doesn't have to be
I
good,
don't know
man.
that one. I know the song, but I don't know the words. But
cool,
I
man.
know what
So
you're
I'll just
talking
slide
about.
into a little bit of that to close things out.
Sounds good.
So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light, and the night got deathly quiet. And his face lost all expression. Said, if you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. The Newf. Thank you very much, man, for your time today. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, good luck with your boys racing and whatever else you got going on, and the rest of 24 and into 25, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Good luck if you go on Australia. You got talent with that song singing there at the end.
No, I'm definitely not going on any talent shows, man. No, I'm just a guy who likes to sing, and
that's cool.
I'm also a guy that never really gets embarrassed about anything. And
it's neat.
It was actually I cocked up an outro. I cocked up my initial outro and sang my outro myself one time, and it just sort of stuck as a fun
Stuck
thing.
with it.
Sometimes people join in and sing it as well, and that sort of thing, and it's
cool.
just a bit of a fun thing that's just sort of I think it's stuck always. Now I'm going to have to always do it. So
there you go. Cool.
Man.
Well, no, I appreciate the time, and keep in touch.
Will do, man. Absolutely. All right. Cheers, man.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of your day.
See you, buddy.
See ya.